This video is on webReader. In the previous video, you learned why you might want to really encourage your students to use webReader and the other ReadSpeaker tools. First off, webReader reads content, it reads assignments, and it reads quizzes. When I say content, we're talking about those files that you created with the Create a File process. If it's been a while since you created your content, then the files that we're looking at are the ones that are web pages, where it has the world icon and then web page written underneath it. Let's look at one of these files. You can click Listen and hear the whole page read to you, or you can highlight some and click Listen and hear it that way. But before we start listening to the file, we need to set things up the way we want to hear it and see it. To customize ReadSpeaker tools to yourself, and each person does this for each device, first click on the hamburger on the Listen button. Then click on Settings. Now in Settings, you can choose your word and your sentence color. Personally, I like a blue word with a yellow sentence. If I'm colorblind, I may want to use the underline. Another setting we can control is our reading speed, and it's always the speedometer icon. If I am a second language learner, I may want to slow this down some so I can catch the correct pronunciation. If I am going into an area where information is going to come at me fast, maybe police, fire, medical, air traffic controller, court reporting, anything where people are talking fast or are panicked, then they need to learn how to listen fast. And the goal is to be able to listen at double time, which is maxed out on the reading speed. One way to help your students achieve this soft skill of listening quickly is to write a scenario, play it for the students, don't let them see it, but you're playing it at a little bit faster pace. After they have written down what they know, slow it back down to regular speed. Let them see how much they missed. Then, later on in the semester, move it up some more with another scenario. Keep doing this until at the end of the semester, the student is basically listening at 1.5 speed to double time. The last setting that we can control here is the text settings, which are used with the text mode. We can change our font size. Let's choose A+3. Our font, I'm going to choose Comic Sans, but notice we also have Open Dyslexic for those students that may want to choose that. Remember, it's an option. And the last thing is the color background we want to use. For instance, if you're using a dyslexic font or you're dyslexic, you may want to use a yellow on black background. For me, that is too much contrast, so I prefer a black on light pink background. Let's look at this page in text mode, and we see our font size, and our background choice. We can listen to the page, or we can highlight part of it, such as this sentence right here, and listen to just that sentence. We'll talk more about text mode in a minute. Now, the next thing that you can use to set things up for you is to choose your reading language. And we have American Female and American Male 1, American Male 2, and Australian English as choices here. Students choose the voice they want to hear the document read in. If it's written in English, then you need to use an English voice. If it's written in French, you need to use a French voice. Let's listen to this sentence, and we were on American Female, so let's listen to it with that voice.
Students playing Quidditch enjoy the sport and get to exercise, which helps to burn off stress.
Let's listen to another voice. Let's do American English Male 1. Same sentence.
Students playing Quidditch enjoy the sport and get to exercise, which helps to burn off stress.
Just for a change of pace, let's listen to it in Australian English.
Students playing Quidditch enjoy the sport and get to exercise, which helps to burn off stress.
Now, something you maybe heard was the different voices may require different speeds. Again, it's the student's choice per device. You can have one set on your computer and one on your phone. Now that you know how to set things up for yourself, let's look at some of the tools that we have. The first tools we want to look at are the skip back and the skip forward. I'm going to highlight my bottom paragraph and click listen. I'm going to click around between the skip back and skip forward just randomly so you can see that it skips around.
Students playing Quidditch enjoy the sport and get to exercise, which helps to burn have to wonder if J.K. Rowling imagination to new games and helps provide pleasure Potter books. You have to wonder if J. Stress all Quidditch enjoy the sport and get to exercise Potter books. Many people toward getting in shape. Congratulations J.K. Rowling. You rock.
So you see, you can skip back and skip forward. Just like when you need to reread something, you can re-listen to it. The next tool we have is Click and Listen. And Click and Listen is great for skim reading a document that you maybe read before, but you wanted to go back and focus on just one area. Turn it on, and then find where you want to read and click. It loads it, and then it reads it.
Students playing Quidditch enjoy the sport and get to exercise, which helps to burn off stress.
Now I stopped it, but notice that it's still toggled on. We do have to toggle it back off to turn it off. Now let's look at another tool, Enlarge Text. When we click on the hamburger again, we see Enlarge Text. We have to toggle it on. I'm going to highlight a couple of sentences and I'll stop it after it's read just a little bit.
J.K. Rowling wrote the Harry Potter series of books.
First off, notice it is enlarged at the lower part of the screen. We can make it larger or smaller. But the thing is, your eyes are drawn into this. This is not just for low vision students. Students that have ADD, ADHD, some cognitive learning disabilities need a lot of movement. Because it's enlarged text, it looks like it's moving fast while it's reading, but it isn't. It's still just reading at the same rate. The other thing it does is for those students that are struggling with a course that maybe has a lot of granular or minute detail in it, those details, because it's only showing just a small clip at a time, are more obvious to the student, and the student can then grab them and most likely do better in the course. So what happens when I click stop? If I look, I see it's still on, so I have to turn it off. So far, we've talked about focus tools that were settings, changing the reading language, the enlarged text. Click and Listen can be a focus tool, but we have some other focus tools down here. One of them is text mode. We're now looking at the same file in text mode. I can change it on the fly. Anytime I'm in a text block, I can make these changes. I can change my font size, the font, the background. I think I want black on white again. So now I have it in that. If I want to stretch the screen out, I can do that. So it's the width of the page. I can bring it back down or I can close it. One of the things about text mode is everything is left justified and it's a cleaner presentation of the file. If an image doesn't have an alt text, then it doesn't show up. So this is getting down to the nitty-gritty of what you want them to learn. Our last focus tool is the page mask. The page mask is the same thing as the old-fashioned cut a hole in a sheet of paper and move it up and down on your textbook. Well, I can push this up and down with my mouse. I can make it wider or smaller, so it draws my focus in. Also, the bottom edge helps keep me on line just like a note card would. So this is a great focus tool for your students. In a traditional classroom, the instructor changes things up every 10 to 15 minutes, which helps the student stay on task in the classroom and stay engaged. But when the student is at home and they are studying on their own, or they're in an online or hybrid class, they have to make these changes themselves. So by knowing what's there to help them re-engage, they can use it. We have a couple of more tools. The download to MP3, and it is, as you would guess, we'll make this back to Arial and normal size. It's saying that you can only use this for your own use. You can't give it away, you can't sell it. If you did, then you would be in violation of your student's code of ethics. The MP3 allows students to multitask. Maybe they have to take a dog for a walk, or they're doing some exercise, they're cooking, they're commuting, whatever. But they want to re-listen to some lessons, so this is a great way to do it. The other two tools that we have are the dictionary and translate. Let's look up the word exercise and look it up in the dictionary. I see it can be a noun or a verb, and it has the definitions for both. I can play that if I want to. The cool thing about this is we use an online dictionary called Wiktionary. And with Wiktionary, it's going to have the words that aren't in your paper dictionary unless you're updating your dictionary every year. For instance, Quidditch. Quidditch came about in the 1990s, but in more recent times you have Bitcoin and other new finance terms that weren't there before. So by using an online dictionary, you're getting the latest things that are truly words. And the last tool we have is Translate. And for it, we use Google Translate, which is a word-by-word or phrase translation service. This means if you translate a sentence, a page, a paragraph, anything more than a phrase, the grammar in the new language may not be correct. Let's take playing Quidditch and let's translate that into Dutch. Now, we see it written in Dutch, but let's listen to it in Dutch.
Zwerkbal spelen.
You just heard it pronounced in Dutch, and the beauty of this is we're using the correct pronunciations. So what good is Translate? Translate is great for building vocabularies for second language students. When we look at an assignment, notice that we don't have the MP3 and we don't have the dictionary and Translate. That's to help promote academic integrity. Now we're looking at a quiz. Notice that there is a listen button on each question. When you click listen, it only plays the one question. When I expand, I see I don't have the download to MP3. I don't have the dictionary or the translate. This helps guarantee academic integrity. So the ReadSpeaker tools are just helping the students learn better. Remember, using two senses helps them retain more. And using focus tools helps them to better grasp the material, which is what learning is all about. This is part of universal design for learning, which is letting the student learn in the way that they learn best.